there's a lot. Look, we compete against, you know, a lot of people that have a lot of things in common. There's 6 degrees of separation is very quickly taken down to 1 or 2. And we have to be capable of reading the room, really understanding that advisor, understanding what makes them tick, and getting in quick with them. So I think likability is very high on the list, but that brand has to be solid. You absolutely have to bring something to the table. So being that power wholesaler really means you're a resource. At the end of the day, they see you as a resource. Now, there are clearly tons of things that we can do to brand ourselves. Mirroring those advisors, if they are the type of advisor that wants to talk about their family, I love to talk about my family. I love to talk about my son. I have legacy in the room, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. My son is in his first year in the business, 23 years old. Miles, he's with Symetra. Miles, stand up.
Yeah.
That's my boy. I'm gonna pass it. I'm good.
Before you go, Sydney, he said something really interesting that I think is going to open up this conversation quite a bit. So he talked about that power, right? And certainly power is its own brand. But I think there are other types of brands as well. Does anybody want to speak to that on the panel or in the audience? Like I said, this is a conversation. Absolutely. Go, Tracy.
So when I think about branding, it's so much deeper than, the clothes that you're wearing, I think that's the first thing that jumps in people's head, like, oh yeah, I gotta make sure I look good. Of course, yes, please look good always, but your brand can go so much deeper. Like I know for me, I want my brand to be very dependable and they can always reach out to me. And if I say I'm calling you back, I am gonna call you back. That is my brand, and I'm gonna stick it out with you until we get while I was here, I was dealing with this crazy issue from one of my top reps, but I didn't care. I would, go out of the meeting, do what I had to do because I wanted to make sure this rep knew I was serious about this. So that is what I think of branding.
So power, dependability. Jerome, what you got?
I think branding is a lot, it's an ability, right? And you both hit something, dependability, likability, accountability. And so what are you really giving to the advisor or to the client when you're meeting with them? What are they left with once you leave, right? Because your brand is all about how they see you when you're not there. And so what are you trying to leave with them? If you're more on the investment side, it could be capital markets, right? For me, when I sit with an advisor, I want them to feel as though I delivered value, something that they potentially didn't know before, right? And so in some cases, it's about being able to leave them with an idea that they can take and not necessarily just make money on, but a way to see things more clearly. Because I want to be that resource when they have a question, when they don't really understand something, I want them to call me versus somebody else, right? That's going to lead to more opportunities. And so it's things like that can really help build your brand.
Yeah, also, when it comes to branding, I think it's very important, especially when you get to the external role, is to just be yourself. Because there's a lot of externals that call on these advisors. And I cover the wires in Atlanta, in South Carolina, and in Charlotte. And, they get a ton of calls, a ton of emails from a lot of different wholesalers. But being memorable is what branding is all about. So you have to just be yourself, be confident. Definitely, you have to know your craft, right? You have to come with ideas to help them grow their practice. But that's the main thing, is just dare to be different. You got hired for a reason, to be in the territory. Right? Your managers or whoever hired you, they have a particular reason why they did that. So it's on you to just have that be a part of your process. LinkedIn is a very important tool as well. I was talking to Richard last night, and we were talking about, after every meeting, he actually, sends a request to the people that he met with. But I typically do that before a meeting because, I just want to put my brand forward to have them know, what they're, potentially is going to deal with. They don't know until I get there, actually, because I'm a little different in that process, in that essence. But just being yourself is the most important thing. Just remember that, dare to be different, be yourself, and that will exude, and that actually makes you more memorable.
I love that. I want to, again, unpack that a little bit more. So, yes, be yourself and be different. So, I'm thinking particularly right now about all of the internal wholesalers and the lessees and the newer to the industry. I would imagine if you all were like me, I didn't have a brand and an identity that I was aware of. And full disclosure, he has the T-Row lanyard. I started at T-Row. But T-Row has an extremely strong brand and an identity that I kind of fell into. And I'm sure I probably exuded those, and that's why they hired me in the first place. But I'm saying all that to say, to raise this question. What do you all think about, for the folks who are relatively green, how do they identify who they are at their core? That is different. And then basically, cultivate that into something that they exude, communicate, and promote. I know I said a lot, but I think you all got it, right? So who wants to go? And by the way, anybody in the audience, like I said, this is a communal conversation.
I'll pass it to you real quick. I think a lot of times you're able to recognize that when you're just being cordial with your coworkers, right? So, for the internals, an example is, if your coworkers are having, an after work event, maybe like a happy hour or just something on the weekends, be a part of that, or a softball team, something intramural, be a part of that, because then you can, learn from the experience, right? You can learn why you're different from these people. Also, you can recognize some of the similarities, right? What do you guys relate on? And I think you mentioned it before, but a lot of times your coworkers, the people that sit next to you, are there, to be blunt, because of nepotism, right? And so they're already a leg up. So you want to realize, or having the experiences with them to just kind of figure out, why you're there, what's the difference, and then just, I say go all in on that, put all your cards on the table, be yourself, and just be cordial with your coworkers, and I think that'll help you out quite a bit.
I think your brand can also evolve. My brand, when I first started as an external, was I wanted to take new advisors and train them. That's what I went out. That was my shtick. I went out to all my COIs and I said, to show me your new advisors, I'm going to be the annuity specialist for that person. In the middle of my career, I think I focused more on the customer service and being dependable. Not that that goes away, but I came to them like, you have problems, bring it to me and my internal. I take that off of your plate and I'll run with this, so you don't have to spend your time working with my company. Let me be your advocate. And all those, it's kind of building blocks of brand. Now I'm known as the annuity specialist. So I have folks that came up and have been wholesaling, or advisors that have been advising for 15 years. And now they come back to me and they're like, hey, I know you're a specialist in annuities. I have this issue. Can you help me with it? Whether I know it or not, I'm known as that person. I say, if I have the answer, I have it. If I don't, I'm going to find out. But I'm known as that resource. So my brand has evolved over time, and it's kind of stacking as you get more experience. So think of it like that, building a brand over time.
I love this concept of building and stacking a brand that you're talking about, because the next question in my head was about alignment, right? So we're talking about being your authentic self. And at the same time, you work for an employer that probably has its own brand. And you've got a team that you're working with as well, that in theory might have their own individual brands. So how do you all, as experienced, successful professionals, work on or achieve that alignment between who you are as an individual and how you represent, again, both your team, yourself, and the people that you work with, and how they communicate your brand as well? Anybody want to take that one? I know it's a little tough.
Yeah, I know we talked a lot about just being your authentic self throughout the week or throughout the past couple of days. And I think, the authenticity that you bring to your workplace with your clients is paramount, right? You never want to lose who you are. So our differences are our difference, right? First and foremost. So I can immediately be me and be very comfortable in my skin. That wasn't the case 27 years ago. I didn't have this, right? So I'll say this for the younger IWs or wholesalers that are in the room. You have something here that is spectacular. It's absolutely amazing. Be very comfortable in your skin. Be very comfortable with who you are. But don't burn bridges, right? Don't overstep and burn bridges because the street's very small, very small. But be you and be powerful in being who you are and bring that to every single meeting. I got to a point in my career where it was an epiphany. It's like, you know what? I've arrived. That whole imposter syndrome thing went away. It was over. And that didn't happen probably until maybe 15 years ago. 15 years ago. I'd been holding on to this thing for a really long time because I wasn't comfortable being me in meetings. And it wasn't until I actually gave up, right? Just that front, putting on that suit in front of my advisors. Advisors would say, "Hey, man, how you doing?" I'd be like, I'm good. But really, I wasn't good. So when I started to bring my authentic Julian to the table, when Jules showed up and I was able to say, you know what, I got a lot going on right now, man. You asked, so let's have a real conversation. And it really opened up space for me to be me and for that advisor to be that advisor. And that led to a much deeper relationship and eventually sales.
Yeah, and that was the point I was making. So you articulate that very well. But also, I think one of the things you mentioned, how do you align yourself? I think you can't be everything to everyone. So the person that's most impactful or in control of your career is the divisional. As an external, you're a divisional leader, right? So I think it's important to manage up. So what are the boxes that they have to check? What are the boxes that you need to check? Make them look good. It's as simple as that. In your career, you'll flourish in your career.
So when I think about what you said, where you align and company and yourself and your team and all that, I think it's important for you to know what your values are as an individual personally. I always like to think what if my mom were in this room or at this meeting with me, or my dad or my son? How would I act? What would I do? And I think when you look at the bigger picture of it, and be to the core of who you are, which we're all kind of saying, then you're going to know how to move forward in that situation. You just have to really, we were talking, who was talking about the gut? Was that Dr. Joe yesterday? Stay with your gut, and I don't think you'll go wrong that way.
Can I just want to advance that a little bit with Tracy, because you were a rock star internal. I remember working with you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And now you're a rock star external.
I'm trying. Stay humble.
So now that you're working with an internal, like I said, how are you building that ideal partnership? And again, is there a brand component in it?
Yeah, so that is, to be completely candid, that is probably where I have the hardest time, because I was an internal and I, gave it my all. Like I went so hard. So now I have a hard time when I do get an internal. I'm like, all right, what's he doing? Did he do that? Did he do that? Like I'm just being completely candid with you. Like, oh, see, I would have done that. I would have done this. So I have to constantly be checking myself. Like, okay, this is how he's handling this. That's not necessarily just because I wouldn't handle it that way doesn't mean it's not right. So what I like to do in working with internals, and we've been going through so many changes. I don't know if other firms have been dealing with this, but the Great Resignation. I mean, internals have been in and out. They've been switching. So I like to have my internal. I want him to know my internal is a guy that it's his territory as well. You as an internal can make sales. You have to be accountable too. I mean, we have all the accountability as the external, but if you're being accountable for what you're doing and you're proud of what we're selling, and just take ownership of it, it'll fall in place. So I have those meetings with my internal. We try to meet once a week. We talk about, who I met with, who he talked to, what illustrations we need to work on, what we need to follow up on. And that seems to be a big deal. That works.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Rosalind?
Yeah, I think having a good partnership makes wholesaling 50% easier, and I think it comes with having a solid foundation. And I think that there's 3 components to that. First, for me, is having actual written down roles and responsibilities. So you get a new internal partner, I want to sit down with them, and we're going to list out what they're going to do, what I'm going to be doing, so everybody knows we're on the same page and everybody can be accountable for certain things, and we know those things are going to get done. The second component of it, I think, is communication, and communication is a huge one. I think there's your daily communication. How does my internal partner want me to communicate with them and give them tasks? Does he want Salesforce tasks? Do you want emails? Do you want instant message? Do you want a phone call? Am I going to do a specific communication style for things that are really important versus illustrations? All that kind of figure out exactly how you guys want to work together on a day-to-day basis. Then there's more overarching communication. I'm looking at how we're going to get to our monthly goal, our quarterly goal, or through the year. So me and my internal, and we have a sales support specialist, we meet once a week, and we spend a half an hour where we're hashing out, kind of like what you were saying. We hash out what we did over the past week, what opportunities came up, what issues are we still dealing with, what are we going to plan to do next week. So we do that every single week, and I feel like as an external, I'm always asking my internal for something. So at the end of that call, every single week, I find out the last question I'm going to ask is, what do you need from me? And you can ask however you want. What do you need from me? What can I do to make your job easier? Because I feel like we're always on the receiving end and taking. So, I respect my internal partners, and I want to know what they need from me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just looking at the audience right now. Anybody have the privilege of working in an ideal internal-external partnership? Several hands. Great. I saw this gentleman first.
Yeah.
We will get to the rest of you.
Appreciate it. Oscar Gruner, Raymond James Asset Management. I do investments and separately managed accounts. How would you suggest an internal kind of, the phrase I use is punch above their weight, possibly take some more responsibility from the external, or take external level responsibilities, not only to help the region, but also to develop to one day be in that seat?
So I'll take this. I would look at your territory and find out where are the areas that your external can't get to and take ownership for those. And maybe that's geographical, maybe that's by an account. If you can make an impact and bring something to the table in an area where they can't cover, that's huge. Pick where you can own it and make a difference and make an impact.
Charles, the legend, Nilsa Roberts.
So to answer the question and to share a little bit on how ideal my internal partnership is right now, I have to start by just telling you the 3 words that define me and what my brand is. So caring, trustworthy, reliable. When I first got the internal that I'm now with, it was very challenging. Oh my God. He had his whole idea on, I've been here forever, I'm fantastic, you don't need to tell me what to do. It was all of this. It was a lot of not thinking that I was bringing something valuable to the table and thinking I have it all figured out, so you don't need to tell me what to do. So I brought my brand, which is I'm caring, I'm trustworthy, I'm reliable, and I'm a quiet storm. We're gonna get this done. I wanna be number 1 and I want you to be number 1. So I think number 1, you have to establish a lot of communication and you have to let them know that you want that person to win. So I tried to find out where does this person wanna be and kind of, took it from there. Through all the back and forth and communicating, through making sure that I wasn't just taking, but giving, birthdays, had a great quarter, had a great day, had a great thing, sending out emails to his managers, making sure that he was getting recognized. He got to a point that he understood, I can trust her. She's there for me. The pivoting point was there was one day that he had something that happened to him that was very challenging. And I remember being really upset because he wasn't there in a significant way for like a few days. But instead of going to him, this was early in the relationship, I went to his manager. The worst thing you can ever do. He didn't come to me to tell me that he was going through challenges, and I didn't go to him. So at the end of the day, we're both working against each other. When we realized, okay, we gotta stop this. From that moment on, we became the best of partners. That next year after, I won the highest year-over-year growth, and so did he. So stick with it, become friends, and understand where you can find common grounds and help each other grow. That's really it.
Thank you. Gentleman in the back, polka dot tie. I saw your hand raised.
Thank you. I have the privilege and the blessing to work with Rodney Jones, my internal, who's actually sitting right next to me, and have done the internal role for a while. So I have a kind of an understanding and have walked in those shoes. And the biggest thing is it's a partnership. I know, the world wants to tell us, oh, the external and the internal. No, I mean, our internals can add so much value, come to things from such a different perspective, and can connect, quite frankly, with some advisors that I, for one reason or another, might not be able to. So it's just having that partnership, having that trust in them, and holding them accountable as well, and having your internal hold you accountable. Because I know there's certain days where it's like, oh, calendar's a little light, this, that, and the third. Rodney will be like, hey, how's it going? What are you doing? Making calls or what? So and then allow them to do that, right? Because a rising tide rises all boats. The goal is for him and I as a collective unit to push this territory forward. It's not him, it's not I. So it's team us. If you maintain a team us attitude, your internal will feel it. Not just delegating, but asking questions, investing time and energy in their knowledge to let them bounce ideas off of you. Hey, what are you thinking? What are you running with? Oh, that is a good idea. I'm gonna go try that. Right? Empower them. And the last thing I'll say is find out what their goals are. Do you want to be an external? Do you want to be relationship management? Are you looking at another company? Are you this? Are you that? This is a safe zone. Team us. Call us on the bat phones, personal phones. Talk about whatever. But if you're invested in them to get them where you want that, where they want to go, your territory is just going to grow. So that's my 2 cents. And no, Rodney is not available. But thank you.
Absolutely. Give him a hand. I absolutely loved what he exuded, which is a really good segue into the next topic. So he's like, I'm sitting right next to my external. If that partnership ain't what it's supposed to be, that ain't happening because it's not required, right? They were talking about the shared ownership. And then when he was talking about for us as externals, well, check in with your internal about, their goals, objectives, what motivates them. Those are soft skills. So, can we pass the mic to Jerome? Talk to us about your soft skills and some of the things that make you unique as far as being effective in your territory, maybe even in your internal-external partnership.
Yeah, I think the soft skill aspect, right there, it expands through all relationships, not just in sales, but in life as a whole, right? You hear the term, there's IQ and then there's EQ, right? That emotional intelligence, being able to sit across from somebody or walk into a room and for more or less understand, all right, they're either in a really good mood or a really bad mood, right? How do I need to counteract this? If I need to get them on my side, do I need to smile more? Do I need to come in with the sense of humor? This all stems from branding. It stems from interpersonal relationships, right? You have to understand the way that we look, right? We don't look like the majority of individuals that we go and see. So what is the first thing they see when we walk in the door? Big black man, right? Woo! That, is he going to help me or hurt me? Woo! And this is, right? I need to press this button. Help, help, help. So you have to understand, right? And this is just where we are. And they talked about earlier today, they talked about fairness. Is that fair that when we walk in, we get put in a box with all kinds of assumptions and stereotypes that do not fit? Truth of the matter is we do. And so to understand the soft skills, you have to understand that and accept it. Because everyone is not you and you are not everyone, so they are not going to think, walk, talk, or act the exact same way that you do. And as much as we want that to go away, it's still part of every single day, whether we're at work or walking around. And so the soft skill aspect of that, right, is being able to connect. But I gotta know and I have to admit to myself, that's the first thing that they're going to see. Now, what do I have to do to overcome that? And each of us has a different ability to do it. I might use my sense of humor, right? And Randy Cox did it excellently when he was in that furniture store where he said, yeah, right? I didn't see him this tall on the phone, right? Where he probably had that Samuel Jackson screaming out in his ear, mother, right? There's other ways to do it. I think to be able to really connect with somebody, you have to be prepared. And so whether it's prepared on your product, prepared on the actual meeting that you're going to discuss, the points that you want to get across, preparation is key. Earlier today, they talked about that neuron transfer, right? And if you're not prepared, you're a heck of a lot more anxious. And if I walk in anxious, that hurt feeling, right, that's gonna go through the roof. So I need to diffuse that. I need to be prepared. So what does that mean? I might internet stalk the heck out of where I'm going, right? I wanna know the receptionist. How long has she worked there for? How long has she been in the business for? Is she licensed? Hey, there might be a point in time where they actually have where she went to college. And if it is a big enough office and I need them on my team, hey, I'm going to Amazon. It was easier when there was less colleges. There's so many colleges in the Triangle area that I just don't keep it all stocked up, but I'll go to Amazon and I'll get a keychain for whatever college, not just the advisor went to, the receptionist as well, right? Because that individual is the gatekeeper. They are the card holder. If they are not on your side, you're not getting in. And so you have to get them to like you, where that likability comes into play. And so you try different avenues. It might be going to Panera and picking up a Danish, right, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you know that you're gonna go by this office. And you got that Danish ring, you just stop by. When I was first wholesaling in Michigan, all of a sudden I'm on the independent side. I've never talked to an independent before in my life, and that is how I got into a lot of offices. By providing something that ordinary individuals don't. Now I'm coming with the gift, so that help or hurt, it's going to be more help, right? Hey, I'm giving you a snack. That's half the battle, right? Trying to diffuse that immediate reaction. And so I look at it, once you're in the meeting, soft skills is all about connecting with somebody on that interpersonal relationship, right? I have 14-year-old triplets. That is one of the things that I throw out there quite a bit. I use my kids all day long. All day. And I also have a 6-year-old. She's the one, she is louder than the three of them, stronger. But when they were younger, we would get a Christmas card done. And I had been in my territory for probably 5 years when we had them. Would you know that advisors knew that we had triplets? That they would bring that up. We would send a Christmas card to advisors. I would walk into an office in July. Man, that Christmas card was still hanging up at the receptionist's desk because she just thought it was cute. Unique story, right? Not everyone's going to have triplets. Be thankful.
I couldn't help but think when you said triplets, I went all the way back to branding, like, huh.
That's, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I mean, let's give it up. I mean, he just Jerome crushed soft skills. We got a few minutes left. Anybody else have any superpower soft skills that you all want to share with the group, whether it's on the panel or in the audience?
Well, yeah, I'll go quick and I'll pass it to you. I think one of my soft skills is that I am really good at recognizing when someone is feeding me BS, right? And in my after work life or outside of work, I don't really tolerate that. But in work, when I'm dealing with advisors or prospects, that's something that you have to develop a skill to kind of eat that and just continue the relationship to see where it goes, right? Because you never know. They may just be trying to, challenge you on certain issues, or because of, the way we look, just question your knowledge or what have you. A lot of times to kind of put them on the back foot, being in Atlanta, it's a lot of people aren't from Atlanta. So one of the first things I ask an advisor is like, where are you from? Are you from Atlanta? I know they're gonna say no. So it kind of puts them on their back foot, right? And then I'm able to just come in what I'm able to deliver. So you have to just go tick for tack with advisors, but not necessarily just don't necessarily don't let them put you on your back foot all the time. Sometimes you have to, be aggressive and get the point across, but, just maintain that relationship as much as you can.
So it sounds like you're describing a little bit of like a power dynamic, right? So they're coming in, judging you and deciding whether you get to stay, but you're creating some asymmetry that allows you to get some leverage and some
I like the way
some
you
latitude. Okay.
Andre, let me give the group one soft skill, if that's all right.
Go for it.
All right. Here's a soft skill that I had to share this morning in a session with a member, and I think it's critical that everyone get a chance to grasp it. Some of you have asked, how have you created this organization in spite of everything that you have going on? And I think if you've heard my answer, it's been focus. The soft skill is being able to identify instantly what is a distraction versus the focus. The reason that's a soft skill worth noting is that commonly distractions aren't clear as distractions. They appear to be part of the main thing. Dr. Elko says, keep the main thing the main thing. Sometimes it's difficult because the distraction is kind of intertwined with the main thing, and it's not labeled as a distraction. And so the skill is identifying it as a distraction and labeling it thus. If you've read my book, you know that words matter. Just the label distraction now relegates it as a distraction. We all know what a distraction is. So the example is you're in an interview or you're talking to a prospective hiring manager. but you have that self-doubt, that imposter syndrome, and it seems part and parcel of what's going on, but that's a distraction. Because what's the goal? The goal is to make an impression, get a job. What's the actions? What are the actions that you're doing that are focused on the goal? Well, those are the positive things. That self-doubt that rises up, that creeps up, you stutter, look down at your shoe, you don't execute as effectively. Those things are associated with the self-doubt. That is clearly a distraction. So the soft skill, again, in short, to summarize, is you have a goal, focus on the goal, recognize distractions, label them thus, that then helps you move them to the side, back to the goal. AWD, Black Wholesalers, that is my goal. There are innumerable distractions, as my board members know. But they also know we relegate that shit real quick.
Yes,
That's my contribution. Thank you for letting me.
So, like I said, I know, yeah, absolutely, give it up.
Andre, we got time for one more?
I know we are at time, but I hope you all felt the power of this conversation the way that I did. Did you want to?
Yeah, just real quick.
Real quick, real quick.
But I'm
has
sorry,
anyone-
we're really at time,
Okay.
so it has to be.
Be interested, not interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but ask more questions, go deeper, keep going down multiple layers.
Perfect, like I said, perfect opportunity to wrap this up. Again, all of the sessions will probably be like this. There's so much more conversation to be had. Hopefully you are inspired and committed to continuing those conversations, whether it's in smaller groups or creating your own forums to do that. Like, that's what this meeting is about. So with that, thank our panelists. Thank you all for your participation. And I will turn it back over to Charles.